All right, we're getting some news into us here concerning Apple. Its CEO is saying he's committed to staying in Ireland, beefing up operations in Ireland, where they plan to hire 1,000 folks, regardless of an EU ruling, a European Union ruling, that companies like Apple are taking advantage of an especially low tax rate there that other European community members really don't like. The fact is that there's no special deal, according to Apple in Ireland, and it would support, that is Apple, the Irish government, appealing this adverse ruling in upcoming EU investigations. So what you're finding what a lot of companies are doing is they set up operations or part of their operations in countries like Ireland, where they have a very, very low tax rate, depending on the rate or the company, 12 to 14%, much lower, let's say, than the top corporate tax rate in this country, about 35%, and set up shop there. Now, whether all the earnings are screened through that lower rate is a debatable issue, but even European countries are saying that those rates in Ireland are prohibitively low and give the Irish an unfair advantage. Carl Icahn on the phone with us right now. Carl, before we get to the debate, this dust up, because it did come up last night in the debate, whether some companies are trying to get an unfair advantage. What do you think of that?
You know, Neil, I respect you a lot, but I honestly watched the debate last night, and I really think you missed the point in talking to Donald about this. It's a shame. It's really a travesty what's going on, because we missed the whole point on this taxation stuff. If you are making widgets in Europe and you're selling widgets in Europe, why the hell do we have a right to tax you for that? So I'd like you to answer that. So you were critical of Donald last night, saying, well, you said to Donald, well, how come that you fight these big businessmen, but how come you want to fight these inversions? These inversions are terrible for this country. You just have Pfizer saying they're going to leave. There are many other companies geared up to leave. And by the way, the people that are pushing them to leave are the very people that you and a lot, and even I, talk against these guys that in the 1/10 of 1% that own these companies and make a fortune if a big company leaves, like a Pfizer, for instance, that just announced it. And you can't blame the shareholder. And Warren Buffett did it with Burger King. And
by the way, I should clarify one thing, Carl. I did not specifically get into inversions with Donald, nor would I be opposed to inversions per se. What I got to him was whether he was consistent on wanting to punish companies like Ford, wanted to move operations to Mexico. I know. Apples and oranges. No, I take no offense to that. Believe me. What I'm saying is he consistent on that by wanting to recognize the inversion thing at the same time, punishing companies like Ford that try to ship jobs to Mexico, and that he found offensive? I mean, can you say both things?
Yeah, well, look at Neil. Look, I'm not here to argue with you, but I want to make the point.
No, I know what you're saying.
And it sort of bothers me that a guy like you that really understands this stuff, you guys should be zeroing in on this problem we have today. We have a major, major problem that exists today, and I know this because I live it. This is my area of expertise. And I've been on the phone with Washington. And by the way, everyone I talk to in Washington agrees with me, and yet nothing's done. Now, here's what's happening. So, look, you said there, and I'm reading what you said because I wrote it down because I knew you just called me to come on. Some of the guys you all but call pirates, so they still keep the loot and pay only a price to bring it back. That's not really what's going on. What is going on, and even this Irish thing that you're talking about, you can't expect companies aren't patriots. Companies don't have principles. Companies make money. That's what a company does. This is a capitalistic system, like it or you don't like it, but that's not the issue here. And this company makes money, and it's going to make the most money it can make. It's not doing anything wrong, but we expect them to pay the double tax. We're sitting here and saying, you're bad guys because you're domiciled in this country, and you're Pfizer, and you make money over there. You should pay a double tax. You should pay the tax to that other country, even though we're not doing anything for you, but you should also pay a tax here. And the left-wing Democrats don't understand this. And they say, oh.
No, I know what you're saying. I think we're just talking past it. But, Carl, I think we're talking past each other because I believe that the way to avoid this problem is to dramatically cut taxes here so you don't have companies that are seeking out much lower tax havens abroad.
Yeah, but Neil, let me explain to you one thing that where I think we're missing a major point. There is no way, and I think it's a red herring to start saying, let's have comprehensive tax reform now, because you're never going to get it. With this divided, dysfunctional Congress, you're never going to get comprehensive tax reform at this time. But what you could do, and what's almost passed, and what's actually set up, actually the framework for a bill that could easily go through now, is a bill that was set up by a Senate appointment, Senator Schumer in the Senate, and actually Paul Ryan is behind it. And yet you have all this intrigue and political misunderstanding. All you have to do is say to these guys, I'm not giving you one holiday. I am going to tax you on that money you made abroad. And you're talking to all these companies like Apple and Cisco. You're talking Nike. You're talking Qualcomm. These companies are going to leave this country. And what you got to say to them is, hey, we'll charge you 8%. And by the way, there's $2.6 trillion that would come back. Most of it would come back. And we would get $200 billion for the highway bill. And that's money that nobody can find. And even today, when they pass that highway bill in a couple of weeks, there's really not enough money for it. Maybe it'll last for a couple of years. Look at our highways. You get an extra $200 billion that everybody agrees. So you are really will get everybody for it. And why the leadership doesn't go and push this through is beyond me. This is why I'm setting up a PAC, because stuff like this, somebody should be held accountable. It's so stupid not to do it. And it's really not understood. It's really simple. We're not going to get comprehensive tax reform that you're talking about. We'd love to, but it's never going to happen. Because you got the small business group, and maybe rightly so, I'm not taking sides here, say, you know what, we don't want to give big business any more break. We got to flow through. They don't. That's how we compete. Okay, this is a very difficult, arcane issue. But you can get the kind of thing I'm talking about, and nobody understands that difference, Neil. And that's what Donald was saying last night. But maybe he didn't articulate it to your liking. But that's really what. And by the way, no one on that stage I don't really think zeros that understands it. And you can have $2.6 trillion coming over here, or part of it, which would be a huge shot in the arm for this country. And yet, I don't know why.
No doubt. I just think we were kind of talking past each other there. My point was his inconsistency on the issue, not. No,
I don't think. Look. You could argue with Donald a lot of things, but he has not been inconsistent on that. Maybe he hasn't articulated it well enough. But what he is saying is that, hey, let's pass a bill and let's get this money back here. And that's what he is saying. Now, you're arguing, hey, what about some of these big businesses? Don't we want to do some other stuff to them? And, yeah, you do. And I agree, and I think you agree. That's my whole point. And I really, I understand. And I'm not saying, there's nobody that really has focused on or understands it, so I'm not arguing with you, but I am saying that should be understood.
Fair enough. You're fair enough.
Okay.
Carl, thank you very much. I do want to get you back on the news day to step back and give this the proper examination it deserves. But thank you in the meantime.